So this is the last part of our pregnancy safe movement series with Ray from Ladies Who Lift, and probably one of the most important, wouldn't you say, Ray?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we get tons of questions about the core exercises that we do that are pregnancy safe, and just like everything else, core is going to be really dependent on the trimester that you're in, but there's always going to be a way to safely exercise your core and get it nice and strong. We always want to remember that we want to come back to our alignment and our breathing and our stability for our core. So those are our main rules. When we think about core exercises, and I would say that this is even a good rule, even if you're not pregnant, we really want to focus on anti-rotation, anti-lateral flexion, anti-extension and flexion, and then being able to keep a neutral spine while moving your hips, while in hip flexion. So those are gonna be the core movements that what we show you are based around, and even beyond having a child, I urge you to bring these movements into your regular workout considerations. So we are going to do some farmer carries. So farmer carries, you can do this in a ton of different positions. Today we're gonna show you a racked position and an overhead position. We're just gonna do this as a march, which is also perfectly fine. So Monica's gonna have that racked in at her shoulder, her elbow is in nice and tight, keeping her ribs in and her pelvis in. She's gonna start to move her knees up towards her chest while keeping everything else nice and stable. Personally, I like to have my clients hold their arm out to the sides and really squeeze the side to create some tension through their side that isn't loaded. If you want to make this a little bit harder, she's going to press that up above her head. And now again, try to keep that stability through her core as she moves her lower extremities. Good, so we're sort of checking off all those things. She's not turning, she's not twisting, she's not flexing, she's not extending, not bending side to side, just that nice stable pillar, that nice stable core. So this is gonna be our half kneeling dumbbell chop. So this fits into our category of anti-rotation. So she's resisting the urge to rotate her body as we move this dumbbell. So she's gonna start with this dumbbell down on the outside of her hip. She's gonna bring it up to her chest. Resisting the urge to rotate, she's gonna bring it up to the outside of that opposite shoulder, back down to her chest, and then back down to her hip. You can do this with a cable, with a heavier dumbbell, with a band if you have it. You wanna make sure that, again, you're keeping that alignment with your ribs tucked in and your back glute working, tucked under and squeezing, keeping everything on top nice and stable. Beautiful, really resisting that urge to turn and twist your body. Okay, so this is going to be a side plank. Side plank is really great, again, to do from day one all the way to your day of birth, because there's plenty of different variations you can take for your comfort level. And this fits into our category of anti-lateral flexion, so resisting the urge to drop her hips or drop her shoulders. So she's gonna press down through her elbow's gonna be right underneath of her shoulder. She's gonna keep both knees down for this variation, if you're feeling a lot of pressure in your abdominals. And then to make this a little bit harder, let's bring her hips back down for a second. She's gonna straighten out her top leg, and then she's gonna support herself with that bottom leg and back up with your hips. Beautiful. If that's still feeling too easy, she's gonna lift that top leg up. A little bit more pressure there, ribs in. Good, and then if that's still easy, you can bring both legs to be straight. Good, have her stack your feet on top of one another. Hips are in line with your shoulders, are in line with your knees, are in line with your ankles. Really pressing down. Good. Beautiful. And relax. Beautiful. So there's tons of variations that you can take. You can feel free to experiment with how you're feeling with that side plank variation. This is gonna be our slow mountain climber. Typically you see mountain climbers used as like a conditioning movement, but this is a great way to practice keeping a neutral spine with some lower extremity movement, some hip flexion. So if this feels good with this frontal loading, then you are safe to do this movement. Monique is going to come up into a plank position. Good, keeping her spine nice and neutral. She's slowly gonna bring one knee in towards her chest. If her belly's in the way, then she can stop a little bit short and then bring that opposite leg in. So notice how her ribs stay in, that there's no big flexion through her spine. Good, she's staying nice and stable through that core, keeping her pelvis nice and stable. Good, beautiful. So this might not be great if you're really far along in your third trimester or you're starting to feel a lot of pressure down in your abdominals, but if this feels safe for you, this is a great movement to do. So these are gonna be our dead bug variations. And again, there's different steps that you can take depending on where you're at in your pregnancy and how you are feeling, maybe even just feeling that day. So our first one is gonna be, she's gonna bring her arms straight up from her shoulders. Yeah, straight up here. And she's gonna keep her knees at 90. In your pregnancy is perfectly fine to keep that lumbar spine just slightly arched. We don't wanna put too much pressure down on her core there. So she's gonna inhale, and then as she exhales, she's gonna bring one arm back behind her. Good. And then she's gonna inhale at the top again, and exhale with that opposite arm coming back. Good, so making sure her core doesn't go into that flexion or extension as she does this. Beautiful. Good, so now if she wants this to make, if she wants to make this a little bit more difficult, she is going to straighten out her opposite leg as that opposite arm goes back. Beautiful. Good, so she's gonna inhale to prepare, exhale, she drives back. You might wanna make sure that your knees aren't tempted to go beyond this 90-degree angle as you drive that opposite leg straight. Good. If that still is not feeling difficult enough, you can add a dumbbell to one side. So really loading up that one side, and then these opposite arms and legs without the weight are gonna be what's moving while we add a little bit of load up to one side. Good, still exhaling as you go. If you can maintain that little neutral spine down in your lumbar, that is perfectly safe for your pregnancy. This is gonna be our pallof press, or anti-rotational press. Monique is going to come down to a tall kneeling position on both knees. She's gonna tuck her toes under. She's gonna tuck her glutes under so she has the support of her lower body. She's gonna bring that band right into her chest. She's gonna inhale here, and then she's gonna exhale and press that straight out. Good, and then pull that back in, reset. Exhale, press that straight out. So there's tons of variations that you can do with this anti-rotational press. You can add instability with a split stance position. You can do this fully standing. You can do this at different angles. But this is, again, a really safe one that you can pretty much do all throughout that pregnancy, as long as you are maintaining proper alignment, proper breathing, and good posture. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our pregnancy safe core movements. I hope you found them helpful. Please feel free to leave any questions you might have down below, and I will try to answer them as much as possible. Feel free to follow me, and I'm always posting new movements that you can do for pregnancy, post-pregnancy, or just to get stronger.